Episode 321, I'm in Love. Fex was walking along with the top platform slowly. His usual neatly swept-back black hair was now a complete mess. The stress of everything was getting to him, and he felt like pulling his hair out. It more than felt like it. There were times while walking when he had pulled out small parts of his hair from his head. Nothing noticeable, but he didn't even realize he had been doing it. He needed everything to go perfectly and still felt relieved that his sister had agreed into letting him do everything on his own. The only problem was that he had a time limit. He needed to finish everything by tonight, to pull everything off that he had planned. He needed some help. He couldn't do this alone. Eventually, Fex arrived at the small little coffee shop where the others were sitting outside. It was an hour later than they had planned, but it was still only 7 p.m., plenty of time for the rest of the evening. Sunrise was the time limit. "Hey, is everything okay with you?" Quinn asked, seeing the mess that Fex's hair was in. He had been acting strange all day, and now his appearance was on top of this. Something must have been wrong, and now with the event over, he could ask. With an awkward smile, Fex approached Quinn and started to whisper in his ear. "Do you mind if you and I can talk for private for a second? I have something important I want to talk to you about," Fex whispered. Hearing this, Quinn's heart started to beat, and slight butterflies were felt in his stomach. If it was something that Fex only wanted him to hear about, then it had to be something to do with vampire business. The two boys left the group at the table and walked off slightly to the side. There was no one around them to listen in on their conversation, and they could now talk freely. "So what is it?" Quinn asked. "Did something happen?" Fex went to fix his hair up and had a nervous look on his face. He never was a good liar, and today he had to put the performance of his life on. The only problem was he had to do it more than once. "Quinn, you're going to hate me for this." Fex placed his hand on top of Quinn's shoulder and looked to the floor before lifting his head and looking Quinn in the eye. "This was it? Have the vampires come to get Fex? Do the military know about me? What is it?" Quinn thought nervously. His palms were now sweating, and he just wanted Fex to blurt it out as the tension was killing him. "I'm in love with Layla." "What?" Quinn shouted out so loud that the others at the table could hear. It was something he had never expected out of all the possibilities. "Layla? I mean... Quinn started to stutter his words. He was so surprised. "I thought you had a thing for Erin," Quinn said. "Erin? No, that was different. She was a skillful one like a diamond, but there were no feelings," he replied as he grasped his hands and pulled them in towards his heart. He was trying to make it seem as if this was a painful conversation for him to have. "With Layla, it's true love. I know you two are quite close, and I didn't know whether you liked her either, but the thing is, I don't know how much longer I can stay here, and before I go, I want her to at least know my feelings." Fex then turned around so Quinn couldn't see his face. He wanted to make this as dramatic as possible for him. There was always the chance that Quinn might see through his act. "I know nothing can ever happen between her, you see, and me, but I want her to at least know, and I wanted you to know before I asked her, because you're my blood brother, right?" Suddenly everything was starting to make sense to Quinn. No wonder he had been acting so strangely for the whole day. A confession was always a big deal. With Layla, Quinn didn't feel like he had any special feelings for her. He did feel protective of her, but didn't know whether or not it was beyond a friendship. Even if he did like her, Fex was so passionate right now, he could never deny him this chance. But what did he know was Fex was right. The two of them were blood brothers. "Go ahead," Quinn said. "Make sure you tell her exactly how you feel." After hearing those words, Fex's eyes lit up as he turned back around. "That's great," he said as he started to push Quinn in the direction of the hotel. "Just head home and I'll get the others to do the same. I plan to do it as soon as possible." "You mean now?" "Yes, now, just go," he said as he gave another small shove. With that, Quinn walked back to the hotel room with a little smile on his face. It would be nice if two of his friends became an item, but it was a shame if Fex did have to go back. "Good luck, brother," Quinn thought as he returned to his hotel room. Seeing Quinn walk off like that, the others who were at the coffee table were wondering just what was going on. The two of them seemed to be so dramatic about something and were a little worried that Quinn had disappeared off somewhere. Still, that quickly changed when they saw Fex walking towards them. He didn't have a face of joy or laughter like he did when talking to Quinn. This was the face of business. With his two hands, he swept back his hair and sat down in one of the seats that were placed around the table, and the aura that was coming off him was suffocating them. It quickly reminded them that Fex was not a human, nor was he a human that had been turned into a vampire, but he was a true vampire. Now that Quinn is gone, I have something important to say to you all. I usually joke around, but this time I'm serious. You may have many questions, but I urge you all to listen and hear me out to the end." Fex paused for a moment to see if any one of them wanted to say something there and then, but they all understood it was an important matter and knew to listen in carefully. "Good. The vampires have discovered me, and they know about Peter. They don't know about Quinn yet, but it's only a matter of time. I want to first say this is my fault. They only came because of me, but after finding out about Peter, they can't let him live. To explain quickly, he is something called an illegal. Vampires do not have permission to create others without notifying their leader. Since Quinn created Peter without a leader's permission, Peter is considered illegal. Usually when we discover an illegal, they are executed on the spot. As for the one who created him, they are taken back to the Vampire Council to be judged for their crime. Now, I have no intention of turning Quinn into them. Ever since I got here, he has done so much for me, but they won't leave until I give them the vampire that turned Quinn. With that, I have a plan. Luckily, Peter knows the transformation skill. If we give him disguised as Quinn, that should be able to satisfy them. I will report back saying I have killed the illegal, while also giving them a fake Quinn. Here is where I need your help. There are a few problems with this. Everything needs to be done today. I have told them I would deal with everything. I will be breaking out Peter, and for that, I think Logan, you will be the best to help me. The second thing might be an even bigger problem. I'm sure we all know if I told Quinn of this plan, he would never agree to sacrifice Peter for himself. Even when I spoke to him earlier, he still thinks there is a way to save Peter. The truth is, this might be the only way to save him. The humans will experiment on him to no end, but the vampires will at least give him a quick death. Giving Peter to them is not enough to fool them. We can smell our kind, and Peter himself is not a vampire, but a subclass of a vampire. If I handed Peter over, they will discover he is a fake in an instant." Out of his pocket, Fex placed the flask on the table and put it in front of Vorden. "During my time here, I have concluded that, Vorden, you are the closest to Quinn. Whatever it takes, you must fill up that flask with his blood, but he mustn't find out about this. I have a suggestion that I think only you could do, and that's to knock Quinn and force the blood from him. He is a curious one. If you try to come up with an excuse, there's a good chance he will follow you, and it will ruin the whole plan. By the time Quinn wakes up, we would have been gone." Fex had finished detailing everything to the others, and they couldn't quite believe it. Both Logan and Vorden had suspected something like this would happen one day. They just didn't expect it to happen in the middle of an event like this. The other thing was, they didn't even have time to prepare. They would have to act immediately. Vorden picked up the flask and placed it in his back pocket. "We have no choice. We have to do this," Vorden said. "But I have one question. Surely sooner or later they will find out that Peter is not the person they are looking for. What happens then? Will they come to look for Quinn again? And what will happen to you once they find out you tricked them?" The serious face on Fex had changed to quite a sad-looking one after hearing this question. It was almost as if he had prepared himself for something. "The vampires are careful ones. It will be a while before they send someone after Quinn. At least this will give him more time. Quinn is special. I know that he gets stronger by the day. As for your second question, that is not for you to worry about and for me to deal with." With everything said and done, and with no time to waste, the group split up and proceeded with the plan. Episode 322, Finding Power. In the middle of Fex's explanation, after hearing and learning that the matter had something to do with Quinn, a particular person had found out that he could be in trouble. In the dark back room of Vorden's mind, Syl had stood up and was interested in what they had to say. Most things seemed uninteresting to him, and with nothing happening so far that relied on Vorden using him, he had remained quiet. He listened carefully while standing by Vorden on his left side, and Rayton was on the right. The explanation had just finished as Fex asked Vorden to gather Quinn's blood. "Well, of course, we're not going to agree to that, right?" Rayton asked. "Hey, I know I'm crazy and I'll fight anything, but do you remember what happened last time? He turned into that bald monster. Sorry, but I'm not fighting in this one." "Rayton, didn't you just say you would fight anything?" Vorden replied, annoyed. "Sorry, I refuse to fight anything that's that ugly with no plus side. At least when fighting a beast, we get a crystal out of it. A human? Well, that's just fun, but that..." After hearing what Rayton had to say, Vorden was concerned and was hesitant whether or not to agree with the plan. Quinn was strong. If it was the Quinn from a few months back, then maybe without Rayton's help and strong ability, he would be able to knock Quinn out and gather some blood. Right now, he would need at least 2 strong abilities to increase his chances. It wasn't just a question of winning such a fight, but being strong enough to overpower Quinn, to the point where he could win without having to badly hurt him. He could always try to find an excuse to ask about the blood, but he couldn't think of anything right now and needed a backup plan in case that didn't work. It looked like Fex's suggestion of beating and knocking him out was the best one. The question was whether he could do it without Rayton's help. "Say, we'll do it," Syl said all of a sudden. This response came as a surprise to Vorden. The whole reason they had gotten close with Quinn in the first place was due to the way Syl saw Quinn. "If we don't do this, the bad people will take Quinn away, right?" Syl asked. It seemed like he had understood more than he thought. Vorden felt bad for underestimating Syl. Maybe he was slowly getting better. His mind returned to what it once was. "Yes, you're right. If we do this, then the bad people won't take Quinn away." With Syl agreeing to help and fight Quinn just in case, they decided to take the job and get the flask. Vorden asked Layla to head back to her hotel room and prepare whatever she thought might help. In her room, there were still a few items she had from Pure that should be able to help block out the cameras around the place. The truth was that Vorden wanted Layla to leave him alone while he made some preparations of his own. He didn't expect her to have some useful things. If there was a chance he was going to fight Quinn, then he needed the strongest powers he could find, and he knew just the place to get them. Inside her hotel room, Layla went under her bed and pulled out what looked like a small metal box. On the front was a keypad, where she proceeded to input the code in her mind. Soon the small metal box was opened, revealing the black ball that was usually in there. This time, though, the black ball looked a little different than before, as a blue flashing light was blinking on the front. This indicated that there had been a message left on it. Placing the blinking black ball on her bed, she chose to ignore it. "No, I am no longer a part of Pure or that life." With her palm facing towards the ball, she started to concentrate. Slowly, components of the black ball were being pulled out piece by piece. They were gradually lifted away from the black ball, and eventually, the ball stopped blinking. Inside the box, there were still a few more things inside. She quickly grabbed them and placed them in the pouch around her waist. They were special tools that she had been trained with her whole life, although she hadn't used them that much since it was her first mission and she hadn't been given any tasks. She quickly went to leave the room to meet up with Vorden at their designated spot, but before doing so, she turned around one more time and took a look at the black ball. As she closed the door, she muttered, "Goodbye, Agent 100. Most of the students were still outside enjoying the atmosphere, checking out the stalls and playing all the games. It was busier than the first day because the public had also been invited to check out the place as well. It wasn't too late, and everyone was filled with excitement. However, Vorden was not one of these people. He continuously looked around the area to see if he could find the person he was looking for. Eventually, on his way to his destination, his search had led him back to the block game Quinn had played the other day. There were more people stationed outside, and there was even a large queue. It seemed like the video had made the game go viral. While looking at the line, he could only see students making up the majority of the queue. There were some with high levels on their wristwatch, but he couldn't tell what their abilities were just by looking at them. It was a shame that Berg, one of the Sunshield Fire users, was taking part in the fighting tournament. The strongest students currently in the school were all underneath the arena and were in that event. This meant Vorden only had one choice, but had no idea where to find them. However, it looked like luck hadn't given up on him yet, since the girly-looking man who sat by them today was also by the gaming area. Wasn't he one of the 4 leaders, the leader of the Greylash family? Owen, if I remember correctly? Vorden thought. Owen was wearing what looked like a fairly large, traditional-looking gown. It covered him from his shoulders and went all the way down to his feet. It was white and suited him well, but only made his girly features stand out more. While Vorden was looking in his direction, the 2 pairs of eyes seemed to catch each other, and the man gave a wink. Owen had left the booth of the game he was watching and decided to walk over towards Vorden. Seeing this, Vorden strangely chose to walk away from the premises, up to the ledge where there were next to no people. "Oh, he wants me to follow him, huh? Well, this should be interesting," Owen thought. Owen decided to play along with whatever games the student had, remembering that both he and the other one had reacted strongly after witnessing the video. He had returned to the gaming area tonight, expecting the student to perhaps return, gaming for he was one in the video. The other students thought of the same thing, but it looked like that wouldn't be happening. All the other students seemed dull after witnessing the video. As soon as the man had come over without saying a word, Vorden had gone in for a quick and unsuspected grab. All he needed to do was get in a single touch, and the powers would be copied. It was truly unexpected. Owen had expected that the student only wanted to talk, but his reactions were far quicker than the boys. Releasing that Vorden's intent was not to hurt him, he quickly thought that there must have been some other reason for this strange attack. There was no power behind this strike, and it was too sudden in front of too many people. Owen quickly opened up his gown, and from his waist he pulled out a metallic fan. He quickly spread it open and blocked Vorden's fingers from touching him. However, Vorden was persistent and tried again with his other hand, but that too was knocked away. Not knowing Vorden's true intentions, Owen stepped back and initiated a small spark in his right hand. It was out of sight for others to see, since his body was blocking most of it, plus he had purposely made it very small. It was a warning. If Vorden tried to strike again, he wouldn't hesitate to use his powers. "I have no choice," Vorden thought. "This is for Quinn." The look in Vorden's eyes suddenly changed, even being felt by Owen. He had never felt such a strong presence come from a student before. He thought that he was right to think those kids from before were interesting. Using the fan, he covered the bright smile on his face. Never before had a student made him feel this way. "My name is Vorden Blade from the Blade family. Using my name, I request you to stand down. Answer my request and give me your hand." Upon hearing the words spoken by the student, he now knew it was no laughing matter. The smile he had before dropped in an instant, and as quick as the smile had dropped, so did Owen with his request and gave Vorden his hand.